All right. I need to shave. I love the hair. I need to get my hair colored. I need to do something for it.
Oh, it has to be a little whiter, and then the colors take.
Huh?
It has to be a little whiter,
Oh, it does?
and the colors take real easy. Yeah.
Mm. Well, mine's pretty white, you know.
Oh,
What's left of it, what's left of it, my hair's dropping like flies.
now you look wonderful.
Oh my God.
I was
Thank
really
you. Hmm?
disappointed I didn't get to meet you because when I
Oh,
went to
I
Seoul.
know. Isn't that crazy? But what? We'll do
Mhm.
it again. We're going to do it again and again and again and again.
All right.
But that was a very, yeah, we haven't talked since then, but obviously talked to a lot of people about it. But um, yeah, there was just some stuff going down, you know.
Oh yeah.
There
I
was,
think it was interesting.
yeah, it was, you know, we've talked about it a few times, but we pulled some code up out of that mountain, and my understanding it was Atlantean and Lemurian, and
Hmm.
you know, all the stories are so weird because everybody had problems getting there,
Yeah, we
and
did.
many people didn't want to go, but their higher self made them go, basically, and then it all made sense. It was weird. It was like we went in, everything got stirred up like a tornado. We came out, and everything went back. Right.
Hmm.
But there was
Yeah, it
just
was really, really interesting.
yeah, there was so many signs though of you know just crazy stuff going on. I know, yeah, you know. But how was it for you? Because a lot of people I talked to said that you know that stayed with them for a while. You know, like they're
Oh yeah,
almost like they had a Soulogy Fest hangover. Yeah.
it was really good. I think, yeah, I was getting pretty dragged out and depressed, like in 2020 and 2021. It was like getting getting negative. I went to Soulogy Fest and I came back and I was like, okay, just get creative. And I just yeah. So now I'm just being creative 24/7. If I'm in the creative process, I'm safe, right? I'm
So
covered. I'm taken care of. So
so let's see.
so
Yeah.
yeah, well, it rejuvenated me, reconnected me. It was good.
That's good. That's real good. That's what it's about. You know,
Yeah,
that's what it's
I booked
about.
a flight to go.
Huh?
And they overcharged me, double charged me on the internet. I was paying like $4,000 to fly to Arkansas, and so I had to get all my money back and then book again, and
That's
then
crazy.
we're connecting flights, and but we got there eventually. And then you weren't there,
Yeah, oh, I was there. Believe me, I was there.
and then I talked to some people and I told them about my dad and stuff, and they liked that story, so they told me I should get up and talk, and I'm going no. But then I thought, wait a minute, if Todd was here, he'd get anybody up to start talking. So I got up and talked one day.
I
But
saw
before
that.
that,
I saw some of that, or maybe all of it. I saw it on the replay.
they asked me if I could contact my dad and like now and get information. So I did that and I got some.
Did you really?
And so that was cool. And then the connections just keep on going and going
So
and going.
your dad has been a guide for you for a long time, right?
Probably since conception, or maybe before, but I'm not sure. Yeah.
Because I can't remember the details of the story.
But my dad would tell us all my childhood that
Yeah.
we are light. We are only light, pure, glorious, creative, magnificent light. All stories and reasons are rendered null and void. We are only night. Every night, you know.
And didn't he have like a ET or galactic slant to him as well, or he was open to that or
Just
something?
a little bit. Last interview, you asked me about that, and I said, "Well, I don't really know." But then I said, "I think I know more than I think I know."
Uh huh.
Okay, I remember. Okay, now I'm remembering.
Hmm.
like,
Now
like
you
all of it.
remember.
Now I'm remembering. Yeah, all of it. A lot of it. Yeah.
Like what?
Well, now I can remember being on ships with my dad and my sister a lot in my childhood, and Yeah, no, see,
Being
my mother. I think,
you remember being on ships. That's what you're
yeah,
saying?
we spent a fair amount of time there.
And and like when did these memories come back? Just recently?
It was like a month ago, maybe six
Really?
weeks ago. You were talking to Harold. I don't remember his last name.
Uh
It
huh.
starts with a W.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there listening to you, and it's just all coming like one after. I'm going, oh, okay. Um,
Yeah. I
so I
think
was that was nice.
I think there's a lot of that going on. I've noticed it, and I've had several people say something very similar to me that you just said right now, which we're having conversations or observing a conversation, and all of a sudden, all the code and the memory starts kicking in.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, I don't think it's the same for everybody, but we definitely get activated or triggered, or which I guess is one and the same thing, isn't it? But
yeah.
I think yeah, this whole like I don't have a lot of recall. I've had episodes being on a ship. I've sought out like in meditation or communion to go there or I end up there, but to actually go into dream state and have so many episodes in the last 2 3 weeks of being on a ship
Oh
or
yeah.
having meetings, yeah, talking to people, and then the next day something happens. Like all day today, I've been working for 6 hours since what I said about like 5:30 or 6 this morning, and already had about 5 or 6 different episodes where I know we took care of this. Right? It's almost like a deja vu.
Yeah, yeah. That's what's been happening a lot. So I remember being on those ships. We were there to watch council.
Hmm?
So we'd watch this table with all these beings, and there was language, but it was like wallpaper. It was just for fancy. Like they weren't talking in language, and you just watch all this transmission. That's the word. That's my word of the week.
Mm.
And all this to going, th- and all this. It's so they were like avatars representing collectives, but it all takes care of itself. Like they just sit there, and all this energy just interacts with itself and through them, and frequencies would get really high. There was my dad, and there was the 13 soldiers in his army troop who were all dead. Some in human form, they were gone, and they would form a big light frequency thing bubble around me and my sister when the frequencies got really high, and I guess I would blow your potential for a human nervous system or something. So we could watch like from this bubble, and yeah, so just the sense of movement, the sense of complete communication, no control, but total awareness, like just that constant dance of communication,
Hmm.
utterly blissful. And then I kind of, and then I when I'm a kid, then I come down to earth, and well, my mom thought it was her job in life to just not let us remember that because that would be bad for us or whatever. So, but it's really hard to talk to people down here. There's no transmission, but there is now. I find so I've been doing that. I've been going back. So I go back and remember. Anyway, so I did that a bunch, and then I just got told that I can sit on this council now, and I'm not sure if that means me or humanity, but we got a seat. Just sit down and let all this stuff go through you
Yeah.
and release anything you have to release. And it's absolutely magnificent. Sex doesn't begin to compare. And so sometimes I just lie down in bed and I do that, and the connections are ridiculous. Well, I live in an apartment, so I'm connecting with all the transmission picks up all the people around me, and then you get up the next morning and all these people pop up and give you big hugs, and they're like, it's like,
I'm telling you,
yeah,
there's something carrying over,
like
and
it's active, like it's carrying in, yeah,
and I think it's all over.
yeah,
It's like I don't know how to describe it. I would say it's like I don't even know the number. I was going to say like to me, it feels like 100,000 interactions with an individual that's incarnated here on the earth at the same time we are. And I guess what I'm saying is, to me, it feels like the volume of it is like I met with 100,000 people individually last night, and that's not even probably a big enough number, not even close. And then things fall into place, and you start the day the next day, and then what you said starts happening. You run into those
Yes.
people, they want to hug you, or like for me, there's been a lot of coordination, and it feels like deja vu. It's happened like I've had deja vu. That's the closest thing I could describe it. At least 10 times in the last 4 days, 3-4 days, and they last a long time too. Like I'll meet somebody or whatever will happen, and I'll be thinking to myself, "This shit already went down. I know what's going to be said. I know what's happening. I know they get me, and I get them. Like it's very intuitive."
Yeah. Well, like sitting here talking to you, I'm thinking that I wanted to meet you and stuff, but like it feels like you're sitting in my room.
I know.
It's just like, okay. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I have been for a few days anyways, kind of apologizing to people
Why?
for being in this magnificent state, but like, why? Like, who cares?
Why?
But it's not,
Why would you apologize for that?
yeah, I don't know, social conditioning.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't, so I go to the studio and I'm painting pictures on clay and I can't hold an image. I can't hold a line. I can't make any comparisons. It's just all swimming, all these colors and lights and things. Anyways, by the time I'm finished, I have an image, and I'm going, where did that come from? I mean, it just made it.
I saw one of
Everything.
the. I saw one of those. I think when I went to your page to pick up your picture, I saw
Oh
it. I
yeah.
thought it looked like you just did it. Did you take a picture or video of it? The painting,
Of
a painting. Are
oh
you are you sharing your paint? Are you sharing your
yeah, I
paintings?
post them all on Facebook. I don't know what
Okay,
for.
yeah, I must have run into one. Yeah. So, and
Yes,
has that picked up since you went to Soulogy Fest? Uh,
that's been like in the last week has just been I like, but I'm not really trying very hard. But I can't hold linear. But- So, but in anything, I can't brush my teeth out of conditioned response. Right, I have to go into creative process to do absolutely everything, which is really nice because I bliss out
hmm.
and I'm good and I'm it works all the time. I mean, so if I'm totally overwhelmed and nothing makes any sense, I just pull out something, anything out of the chaos, anything that isolates in my perception. And if that's not enough, I'll pill out another one and you put them together. And if you get three, something happens and now I'm kind of grounded again. And it all just
Give
creates
me.
itself.
Can you give us an example? Give us an example. Like if you pull three. Like, can you think of anything?
Well, anything. I mean, if I try to get, there are mornings I cannot get dressed. I don't remember how to put on clothes. So I don't know. So it gets down to the ADHD thing where you just do one thing, just do it, and you do it, and then all these connections get made, and of course these days something will go wrong. But when I'm creative, like with clay or with color, there's no such thing as wrong.
Right.
Everything goes wrong. You do something and you'd rather do that, so you do that, and it's a constant play back and forth. But in this reality, it's wrong. So I tried to put on my pants, but they're not on, or they're twisted, and I say that's wrong. But it's not wrong. It's just adjust, respond, react. So everything's breaking down to adjust, respond, react. One breath, react to that breath with the next breath. Like, yeah, it's all breaking down into constant response,
Wow.
which is totally fine. But it used to be you have to do something and you'd have to do it, and you didn't even pay attention. You weren't supposed to pay attention to how you were doing it. You were supposed to multitask and do 10 things that you weren't paying attention to. And now it's like every detail is fully focused in my attention, and it's a constant.
Well, the last time I saw you was in Morgan's group, which was I don't know 2-3 weeks ago,
Yeah,
and I hadn't been to one in a while, and so it was a good session. I don't remember what it was, but when we came out of it, and everybody says, everybody talks and says what happened. You went first, and it was like a total cross. It was human language, but it was code coming out in frequencies with the rate of your verbalization. Like, it went into hypergear. But the thing is, you said everything, and I was like, wow, nobody even needs to say anything else. She just summed everything up from both the human and all these other levels. And I got it because I don't know. I just was like, whoa, this is almost like this is what's coming in. Kind of like what you're talking about with these tasks and these functions. I'm sitting here doing tasks for 5 hours, 5.5 hours, and it feels like it took it like half an hour. You know what I mean? And here's the thing: I can only do this every few days. Like, I just lined up 20 shows, and pulling all the pieces together, because these are obviously conversations that are going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then I get the energy to do it, and then the next thing I know, it's 5-6 hours later, and it feels like it's been 30 minutes, and I got all this stuff done. But yesterday, I did 2 shows. I'm in the middle of the second show, and I was totally present, whoever the guest was, I can't remember. But I started getting that heaviness, that droning that comes in when you're getting energy. That's what happens to me. And so I started getting that, and as soon as the show was over, I got my pillow, I laid on the ground, and my consciousness left this building. I'm absolutely 100%. My consciousness left, and I was out there for 2-3 hours. It felt very much like what we were talking about at the beginning. Being on ships, having meetings, talking to people, definitely getting upgraded, getting totally dehydrated by the end of the day. So this stuff's moving fast. And I think talking to people like you, and they're all over the place, and we've had many of them on the show in the last month, 5 weeks, through their conversation or through their delivery, we're actually picking up code. I'm convinced it's through these explanations. It's not an instruction. You're like, well, I try to put my pants on, but my leg won't go in. Well, these are the kind of...
fine. I mean, I'm fully dressed here. I'm 70 years old, so people go, oh, well, you're getting old. I'm going, no, it has nothing to do with that.
Very cool. I was just reading these comments. Zana Kozar said, there was a moment I observed you at Soulogy Fest. It looked like you were in total bliss. We were sitting under the tent, and you were out in the sun. It was meditative to watch you enjoy the sun and be present.
Aww. Yeah.
So what's going on in Canada? What's going on with you? What's happening?
In Canada.
Or whatever. Whatever. What else you want to talk about? I'm just fascinated by this whole thing with your father coming back into the,
Yeah, he said the CIA was not after you.
What's that?
He said, well, at Soulogy Fest, he said the CIA was not after you. They weren't interested in you. But that there was that force, that resistance, that they didn't want that meeting to happen. There was that pullback, because we were going there with the intent that we could have, if you had been there, because when you talk to people, you take them to really deep levels, right? That we could have mustered a group consciousness capable of galactic communication. And then none, they didn't, and there were more, like you said, there was more than one group meeting that weekend.
Yeah.
And there was a kind of intelligence, military awareness that was going, no, they're not doing this.
Okay, let's talk about this. Wait a minute. You can't just throw this stuff out there. You sound like Franco. You sound like Franco now. And who is it? Who else?
I had a private session with him once.
Oh, yeah. But you know what I'm talking about. Who else does this? Oh, Ashley Lee, my friend Ashley Lee. They talk, they're so their nomenclature and their understanding, their experiences is like at this level, and they say things like pass the butter. I mean, it's like with that type of relaxation and unaffectedness. And but as a listener, you're going, wait a minute, what are you talking about?
Oh, sorry. Well,
Now,
most people don't
so
even color.
let's just go back over this for a second, just so we can kind of catch up, because I want to ground myself. But so your father has been your guide since day one, both when he was incarnated and not, and very recently he's come back into the fold in a very big way. Now you're telling me that he told you that in terms of Soulogy Fest, I guess you were saying the CIA was aware of it, but wasn't running any interference. But militarily, they didn't want it to go down because I guess what you're saying is if I had been there or whatever, we would have had an open line of communication with the Galactics that some people didn't want us to have. Is that right?
But they would have the unity. We could merge. Our intent was to merge, to communicate, to become a collective capable of galactic communication, unified, and we could have done it, but it was too scattered, and so they just blasted it with energy, right? So nothing could coalesce.
Who did?
We had potential there anyway, but we'll have to try again.
I think we actually accomplished a lot. In fact, I know we did. And the way I saw it, and the way I understood it, and the way that it was shown to me, was we were the one that made it happen. That even though we weren't 100% conscious of our multidimensionality, by being over there and the soul coordinates of each person being over there, not to mention all of the energies, let's just say of the non-physical world or the non-human physical world that were present, we pulled some serious code out of there. And I think that was very necessary. But what I wanted to say was, what I was told is that we did it. We superseded it. We were successful.
But then again, I don't perceive it wasn't like antagonistic. It was like that crystal bed was releasing.
Right.
It had held for humanity. It had inverted tons of energy.
That's right.
And it wants to be free. And it was a little pissed off, but really it just needed to release it.
And I talked about that. It's just, we say things a little differently, all of us. But I talked about that. You got to remember, I was there from June the 2nd. I mean, I came to Sedona, but I went there June the 2nd to live there and basically live with the mountain and all the beings that were coming to me. But I only got to spend there one night between June the 2nd and, 23rd or whatever it was of August. So one of the things that I was...
Only one night.
Right. But what happened was I ended up spending the first 2 nights so it would have been like June 3rd, 4th, something like that, at the bottom of the mountain at a hotel, not the one everybody stayed at. It was another one, really, really run down. And they all came into me, and they said, "You're not going up there." I'm like, "Oh, where am I going?" "Well, you don't need to worry about that." I was like, but there was 2 primordial beings, and they were representative of the energy that you're talking about. They were pissed off, not at us, but they were pissed. They were like, we have been cooped up here for eons, and we have this coding, and we're going to kick somebody's ass. We're that pissed off. And I'm like, whoa, well, what did I do? And they're like, no, you're good, man, but you're not coming up here because you're not ready, and you got stuff you need to go do, which they were right. But yeah. And then, of course, the stories of the people when they left, like Hung went to her mountain retreat where their favorite spot, and they got, hit with heavy energy, and she dumped the code there, and other people dumped the code in other mountainous areas. I mean, yeah, we're gonna do it again,
Oh yeah.
one way or the
It
other.
was wonderful. It was fun. I went hiking,
Did you really?
and we got lost. Me and this other girl who's never been hiking before, and we lost half the people we were with, and we had to climb. Then we lost the trail, and we had to climb up this kind of cliff thing to get to the top. And well, I'm in shape again now.
I need to do it.
That was fun.
I'm glad that you went.
Yeah, me too.
I'm
Yeah,
glad
it
that
was
you
great.
went. Yeah. And that's amazing. I mean, it was short notice. It wasn't exactly in the best location as far as getting to a place. But again, this is what we do, right? We're told to do things, and we honor that guidance. But even like the previous year, where there was a little bit more of notice, still not a whole lot, like less than 3 months. There was people from Europe, Mexico, Canada, and that was in the middle of lockdown or COVID, right in the middle of all the
Sedona.
COVID
Yeah,
stuff in 2021.
I remember. I got that. I somehow got it streamed free.
Hmm.
The Sedona one. And I watched the whole thing. It
Yeah,
was
that.
nice to go out to meet people. I got to meet Robert Evans. I got to meet Delia, and I stayed with a whole bunch of women in this house. And then I listened to Janine talk yesterday or the day before. That was just
Oh,
super.
Janine was
That was
amazing.
totally moving.
Isn't that crazy? Sound like Erin Brockovich.
Yeah, it was
I mean,
Silkwood.
she was
People
up
were,
against the pharmaceutical,
yeah,
and
like
and
yeah,
had them by the balls. But you know how this system is. I mean, if you don't have the money, you can basically be starved to death,
I
or
guess.
or
So
underrepresented. Or you
we
wouldn't
have
know.
no.
You haven't had any experience with it. I have had some recently,
Oh, really?
which
Recently?
was
Yeah,
which was
recently.
totally, which was totally makes no sense, right? How do you go?
Yeah,
How do you get extradited for a misdemeanor from 6 years before? Which was basically. And here's the thing: I go all the way over there. No, they must have spent what I would think $3,000, $4,000 to take this man from here to there. And then I get to the court, and the judge looks at this and goes, "What the hell is this?" He goes,
yeah,
"You won't be coming back to this court. I'm going to let you out on a personal recognizance bond." So that just shows you that was whatever happened, and whatever the CIA, the military, whatever other forces. This was non-linear. This was all arranged long before this happened. I mean, it was almost like my little case slipped through the cracks. It was the cops, the troopers. They were all like, "What the hell's this? This just doesn't happen, right?" So there was a divine intervention, is what I'm saying. What we identify as a divine intervention from a human perspective.
yeah, yeah. The interesting thing about this transmission stuff is like it's just alive, and
Right.
and the social field or the world out there, Canada, is like it's just dying really fast.
Mm-hmm.
It's just no energy.
I know.
So I'm very happy to sit here and be completely spaced out and be generating energy. And every once in a while, something out there moves, like it picks it up. Like the energy is underneath, it's in the subtle. It's underneath this what I used to think was reality, which is hardly even there anymore, really. But then I get, of course, there's always my bitchy side that gets frustrated. So I say to my neighbor or my friend, when we get to the store and they won't take your money because the server is down and they can't process your cards, you have to have cash, or whatever, that, like this whole system is dying. And they go, no, no, it's fine. And I'm just, none of my appliances work. They're all breaking. They can't replace them. They can't order parts. I work in a ceramic studio. The kiln has been down 6 times this year, and we've wired the whole thing, and then the refrigerator went out, and then like the electronics are glitching everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can. No,
Yeah.
nothing's happening. Everything's fine. What?
See, I think you bring up a good point though, because like I don't see how, and I've said this for a long time. I don't see how we can still consciously participate uh, in the the inverted matrix. And I'm talking about driver's licenses, and I'm talking about rules and regulations and laws and visas and borders and all that stuff, right? But to your point, I think what's happening is it's not going to be a tough decision for us because it's all crumbling. So we're going to see the momentum of the deconstruction or the reconstruction, right? Or whatever we call it. We're going to see that. We're going to see the direction, the trajectory that it's headed, and the writing's on the wall. And I think it'll be very easy for us to be much easier for us to get to these points because we're going to sense the alignment and basically lose our fear. That's how I
Yeah,
feel. That's what I feel is happening.
yeah, I think so. I get worried because I can talk to you, and I'm doing women's groups, and I do Morgan's group, and then I do Monique's group, and then I've been doing my own group, and sometimes not a lot of people show up, but it doesn't matter. The conversation just kicks it, or the meditation kicks it.
Right.
And but if I go outside in my nice little strange town, it's not that people are unaware. It's that they're really proud, like the survivor mentality of ignoring absolutely everything they see and going, everything's fine, everything's normal, just ignore it, be calm, and nothing's happening. And so if the whole world changes and all there is living transmission, are these people still going to be saying, talking about dinner and
I don't know. I mean, if you think about it, if you think about the evolution of the human or the history, that we can put our finger on, uh, ignoring things, like distracting ourselves, I don't think that was something that ran as rampant in, 300 years ago, 500 years ago, 700 years ago. Life was more in your face. It was more simple. So
that's it.
it's kind of ironic that we're at a place now where there's so much, what looks to be distraction. Well, if you take the phones, for instance, right? But really, there's two sides to everything. And that's another thing that's kind of strange about what's happening. Because you look at something like, let's say, COVID, that, I just read the thing yesterday where there was a big to-do because, how New York City and I think Hollywood, one of the guilds or something, they have reinstated all those that were released as a result of not getting the jab and giving them back pay. Now this is from the bottom part of this was from the CDC, and it said having the vaccination and boosters will not keep you from getting the virus and spreading it. Like this is what you're talking this is what you're talking about. Now on top of that, you have people who are who first of all who were impervious to it that got the jab. That's not talked about. People that are turning it around and transforming what was put in, right? I mean, there's just all kinds of different scenarios. But to your point, if it's not real, it's crumbling.
Yeah.
It really is.
But what was it? The thing was, if you're going to miss your old world, the truth is you get to keep what you love.
Yeah.
So if you really love taking the bus somewhere, the bus will still run somehow.
Right.
But yeah,
Have
my
you?
thing I've been thinking about that actually shifts it all, because the mind will not let go of itself. It just won't. It's just narcissistic in the extreme. But the polar shift, there's a polar reversal.
Yeah.
Like maybe March, maybe April. I got April 12th. I'm lying in bed, I'm meditating, perfect silence. A voice comes up, says April 12th. I'm going, what? Well, either my mother dies because she was sick in the hospital, or it's the polar reversal, or it's both. Because she's not dying until she sees what she came here to see. And I don't know for sure what that is, but I'm getting suspicious. So,
I think.
but when the earth starts to shake, then you remember that your mind was not the ground of your existence.
Mm-mm.
The earth was. And only then can things start making sense to people who like to ignore everything. 'Cause, yeah.
Well, but at the same time, I think what we talked about earlier, like even for those that we might refer to or that you're referring to, which we all know what you mean, um, if the changes are visible, first of all, the changes that are visible externally are all. I think we're all aware too that it's being matched internally. You don't see people doing shadow work and having meltdowns and zero pointing exercises typically on external issues like the war in Ukraine or the squeeze on oil or recession. It's because we're going through these internal,
Yeah, yeah.
drastic, because our axis is coming into vertical. You know, being around Ty has its advantages with the stuff that he studied throughout his life. And one of the things that he talks about is what you're talking about. We're moving to a true vertical axis. And when you have a true vertical axis on a planet, the entire planet is tropical. So
Oh, I like that.
let's just say that's a metaphor. If we're moving that direction to that type of thing, and we're all going through internal recalibrations at the emotional, physical, mental, you know what I mean? That would make sense to me. And now that you tell me,
Was
now
the
that you
land
tell,
rises? Was it Atlantis rises? That the tectonic plates have been moving for, and for some reason, when I studied ceramics, we studied tectonics because clay and the earth, the plates are striated. They move off. They can slide off each other, right, and rise. And the looser they are, the easier the rising. If they're against each other, you get
mm-hmm,
violence.
mm-hmm.
But if they're loose, they just slide off each other and come out of the ocean, and we restore the pristine earth. And then once I did a session with Linda Good McGillis. She told me my heart was completely dark and there was virtually no light in it, which I'm not sure is
When
true.
was
But
this?
maybe at the moment.
Hey, I hate to say this publicly, but she has made videos. I know her.
Yeah.
I allowed her to stay in my house years ago,
Really? Okay.
and her partner. Yeah. But I'm going to tell you
Anyway,
something. I don't care at this point. I've got nothing against Linda. Linda and a couple other
she's a
ladies.
great personality.
Well, Linda and a couple ladies that I won't mention their names. I've already mentioned Linda. Actually made videos about Todd Morgan Soulogy.
Really?
And that pissed me off. But I'll tell you something. I don't give a shit who you see. Don't ever tell somebody their heart is dark. You can go fuck yourself. I don't give a shit
But
who
it was
you are.
okay.
You know,
So next day I
that's
meditated.
horrible.
There was darkness in my heart, and out of the darkness in my heart arose this pristine earth. Like this, yeah, where it was mostly land and not much water, and just glowing and glorious and lush. And I went, oh, well, that's fine. I'm good. Like,
That came from
so,
you. That came from you.
yeah, yeah. So if there's maybe the darkness was holding it, but anyways, I really, so if the land rises,
Or
I think,
maybe she was just a stimulus, you know. Maybe she was
yeah,
just a stimulus to put that in front of you. Because look, she doesn't do anything. I don't do anything for you. You don't do anything for me. We do it for ourselves ultimately. That's the way it is, you know.
yeah. I don't know. Sometimes her personality is difficult, but she's got
Who?
intel. She's got absolute connection. And
I'm
some of the
not going to make a comment there. I'm not going to make a
yeah,
comment there. I don't want to get personal, and I probably have never done it this personal on this show anyway. But there's some stuff there, and you know, don't underestimate the power of one unique and equal soul, especially your own. Which also means don't put any other soul on a pedestal.
no, it would
It's
never.
a.
No, I wouldn't do that.
I'm not talking to you. I'm just
In
talking. I'm talking.
transmission, they said you take what's yours.
Yeah.
It's not take. It's not take the best. It's not take what you like. It's what's yours. What you can't possibly sift out of an ecstatic transmission. I mean, it's just you have to take the information that your signature takes. You can't take it all. You can't. right? You have to take yours.
Let's you know what, we have to do things in the moment. We have to do things as we inspire and kick it back and forth. This is what it's all about. So I see a couple of comments about Linda, and this isn't about Linda, but I'm gonna say this because I've been noticing this.
Whoops,
And this
whoops, I might as well now that I shouldn't have said something.
no, I love this. I love this. This is fantastic. This is what it's all about. So here's the thing, right? I and this goes back to what you said earlier. Every single thing is being deconstructed, right? Everything that's not going to apply to a vertical axis is being reconstructed, deconstructed. And I love what you said about you take with you what you want. So if you want to ride the bus down to town, it's going to be there, right? But this is what one of the things I noticed, and I saw this on a big platform, and I'm not going to mention any names, but I saw this 3 or 4 days ago, and it was a big message from the universe to me because of what I do and the frequencies that I'm to put out, right? Which is really not me; it's the field. These platforms that are still containing dualistic programming are going to fall. They're already falling. There's a major platform. Everyone knows it. I'm watching it, and I've been amazed at how quick it's falling. And I'm talking about a substantial one. If like your message this whole time we've been talking, the message about your father, the message about the information you got, on the mountain, you talk about a couple of sessions, you talk about the way you view life now, the what's happening real time. That's where the real code is. Not these instructions and people telling you, oh, it's going to be rough and get ready and, that whole, it's just not working anymore.
Yeah, that's getting a little weird. Mind you, when I was a teenager and my dad would talk about conspiracy and all stuff, I was like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're going to be sorry if you don't, and don't you know what's going to happen? And yeah,
Well, that's,
it's kind of
I think
an
that,
immature attitude to it all.
but I think that's totally understandable. Like for instance, when we woke up, this is what you're talking about. You saw it on, people would get on the post and they would say, my family won't listen to me. They think I'm crazy. And then we get to the point where we go, well, you know what? I don't need to tell anybody nothing. Right? But it served us. We needed to have that, just like Linda saying something to you. That's an igniter. That's a catalyst. But at some point, the things that got us to a certain level aren't going to get us from that point to the next one. And it doesn't mean they're bad or wrong. It just means we've outgrown them. But I love what you said. I love what you said about you're going to take with you what you want. If you really think about that.
What you love. You get to keep what you love.
Keep what you love. Keep what
After
you
one
love.
of the law.
Yeah. That's a really great point because I think we look at certain things. Let's take the thing about you said about riding the bus. Somebody will look at that in general and go, the bus uses gas. It has a lot of other energy on it, of other people. It's part of the matrix apparatus. They charge you money. It's not equal. I mean, you could look at it, you know what I mean? But that's not what that person would be taking with them. That person would be taking with them. They love to walk down to the corner. They love to wait on the bus and whatever they do. They like that ride. It gives them some solitude. I don't know, whatever it is, but that's what they're taking with them, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you apply that to everything else, nothing's off limits.
Yeah, wow. This is cool.
You're cool. That's why.
So I had when I went to see my daughter last year, she gave me a ring that my mother had given her. It was my father's. And I came back home and I have a really psychic neighbor, so she did a reading on my dad's ring. And she said that he was really, really respected in a lot of places because he could weave light. And my father was actually a textile engineer in this lifetime. And yeah, because he could assemble worlds, so he could just take fibers and just weave entire worlds, and he got respect everywhere. And he did in this lifetime. Everybody respected, like you just held him in complete respect.
Wow.
And on ships there too, he was just like you didn't mess with this guy because he was completely straight, like everything was crystal clear. But yeah, so and then when we're doing Morgan's group and any group, I'm really stoked for creating a new Earth, create a new world, to assemble
Absolutely.
to take those light fibers and make something new. That's what I'm really, which is coming really soon. It's getting
It's
closer and
already
closer.
here. It's already here. We have all these things. I mean, at the end of the day, look at right now. The last time Kanye West was in the news to the extent that he is now, it was with Kim Kardashian and it was with his mental evaluation. And if you really listen to the story and get all the facts, it's not what is it's seen at first blush. But what was going on when that happened? There were some things going on Ukraine. There were some things going on and that's my point. Whenever there's all this stuff starts to show up, all this controversy and this BS with Kyrie Irving and Kanye West, whatever, there's something else going on. It's a distraction. But even these things are not working anymore. That's what I'm getting at too. Like the false flags aren't working anymore.
Picking up the memories of my life somewhere. I think it was. I've been using Morgan's, whatever. It was just a practice. We did it in one of the groups, which was to pull back the fibers of your
Yes.
judgment
Yeah.
and send light. Man, that's powerful, and it applies in so many ways in so many places. And it's just been bringing back memories of my life. And they did a meditation for the solstice in Sinai. A whole bunch of women, 1,000 women,
Mm.
got together. And I was in Sinai in '72, and we climbed the mountain. It was like magnificent. God lives there. I mean, he's right there. You can feel him coming out of the ground. And so I was remembering that. And why am I mentioning this? I can't remember. Why? Oh, you were talking. Oh, that's it. So we're driving in the Sinai, a bunch of kids in a big truck, and we're camping there. And the topic almost the whole time was Watergate.
Mm.
So here we are receiving the Ten Commandments, sleeping on the sand, watching Bedouin tribes walk by, and 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 talking about Watergate. I mean, wasn't that the same as today? It was the same thing.
It's but
It's
none.
only
But you
only
see,
done it now. Yeah.
and you know what's crazy? I found some clips of David Icke that I hadn't that actually weren't very old. They're like 2 or 3 months old, and it's with that dude on London Real. They
Hmm.
have some I don't know, a handful, 6 clips from the interview, and you got to go join to watch the whole thing and all that, which is fine. But he was talking about that same. It wasn't the exact thing Morgan was writing about and what you were talking about that y'all did, but he was describing the whole thing, but not from a personal standpoint, from the collective standpoint. And he was talking about the spider web. And he was talking basically the same way that she was talking. I was listening to this last night, and but it wasn't like in the same way. I think that's a really good analogy, or not even an analogy. Maybe it's a reality, because anything that we have put out into the web, we can pull back, right?
So there's where I create this world where I don't like what's happening, but even my not liking it are the fibers that create it.
That's right. That's right. Good point. Yeah. And
Oh
that's
yeah.
why, like with this guy a couple of weeks ago, or Linda, or anyone else, I think I would never, I would encourage to have an open conversation as opposed to allowing prejudices and biases and charges to continue. And I'm guilty. I'm not going to tell you. I mean, I pull up people that I've had issues with every day, and and I've talked about it for years and years. I want to reach equilibrium with everybody, but it's it's, we got to want to go there. We got to know what fibers on the web are ours.
Yeah, mind you, I don't have any issue with her. I did a transmission with her, and sometimes I ask her questions, and she's not really interested in answering my questions. But she came in and she did a whole reading on me that was really lovely. It was really good, and yeah,
Well, there's a lot of imitators. I'm not saying she is. I'm just saying there's a lot of plagiarism. Pure channels, pure channels. The purest channel we're going to find is ourselves. That's it. And what anyone else thinks about it doesn't even matter. Your conversations with your father.
Word that makes it like there's any. I mean, transmission was just transmission. There was no good one. There was no, there, you couldn't single out anyone because you were a collective communicating anyway.
Right.
We can only single out people and judge in what's left of the third and fourth dimension, right?
Yeah.
The more that dissolves, it's just going.
Jesus Christ. There's a reason you brought that up today. It's funny how we stimulate the field with each other. And we don't even realize it, but I think that's part of what's coming into play now too, is we're starting to see the connection in real time. Like the humans are talking about one thing, and you just made me realize, or your inspiration or whatever, your connection made me realize I got some work to do. I got something to say. I got something to do. Yeah, it didn't even come from, you know what I mean? It wasn't what we were talking about.
Yeah. Can't create a new world alone. It's a collective creation.
Well, that's the whole point down here, isn't it?
My challenge is that thing where I get resentful when I have stupid superficial conversations and stuff. There's something to that. Because what my dad said was the earth and all humanity change. It's all humanity, past, present, and future. In Judaism, it's the righteous return of souls or whatever. So what part of all humanity am I not? I mean, everyone is everyone. And I can be annoyed. If I'm annoyed, I'm building that field that annoys me. And and the thing about bifurcation, and there will be two worlds, and it just doesn't ring because it's only duality can see two worlds. Unity does not see two of anything.
Yeah.
So I get caught in that thing. I'm reluctant to stop seeing two, to stop seeing not, and realize.
I totally look. If we think for one, okay, look, we already know that. Let's just say. Mainstream media, the majors, right? I mean, all pretty much controlled, right? Information is the key commodity. So that's been controlled from day one. History goes to the victors, right? So how can we just dismiss the possibility that even things that are coming in through wavelengths, etc., are not controlled? How do we know? That's why I look at everything as a potential program. Ascension is a potential program. Now, there's a true ascension, which is just me growing as a soul, and then there's another one it's kind of like this woke term. Where do you think that came from? And why have they put it out there and injected it into the mainstream? It's to control consciousness. It's to basically borrow from reality and distort it, which is the way it's been going anyway for 12,000 years. So I agree with what you're saying. Two Earths doesn't make sense. Solar flash doesn't make sense to me. Why? Even though it's come in a lot of people's QHHTs, it's still metaphor. It's a message to that person. And I think that's another thing that we tend to forget. Our downloads, our channel is meant for us, for myself. We've all want to share because that's natural to our nature. But again, it can become a program if I say, okay, well, this is the channel I got and everybody needs to do it. Right? Like I remember we ran into this lady in 2018. I had her on the show. She downloaded numbers. Just numbers. So she would read you and she'd give you a whole sheet of numbers. Just say these numbers every day and your soul will be saved and Jesus will come get you, take you by the hand and take you to the promised land. And I mean, I did a couple of shows with her and that was there. And back then, I'm not picking on her, but back then you saw a lot of that. There was this adamancy, follow my path or you're going to burn in hell or whatever the case is, you know? And, but the following that she had and you know, was strong. I mean, I was getting hate mail because I was like, well, there's other ways to do this, you know, and it was just a conversation. But you know, I really like what you're saying about the two earth thing because it's not just applying to the two earth thing, it's applying to everything. Like everyone you look at is you.
Yeah, I've done that. Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean?
Tough one.
But you know what I'm saying, though? Like
It's
that
true.
meme, you know that meme that goes around, has all those beautiful faces of all the different cultures. It's in color, it's real vibrant, and it says, you cannot find God till you see God in everyone. And I know it sounds cliche, and you know, but it's the truth. And I think that's what that whole I'm not going to look at the two earth thing, or even looking at the Great Divide. How do we know that the Great Divide? You know what I mean? How do we know that there isn't thoughts? We know this actually, generated to influence us that are not from us. That could be disguised as a download. We can't. We have to question ourselves as much as we question everything else. I mean, this is deep territory we're in. No one's ever done this before. You got a human brain that's 3D, right? It totally conditioned, totally pattern driven, habit driven, has been unconscious and programmed, and then you have this higher mind heart fusion that is what I call the I am soul, that has a multi-dimensional, multi-streaming thought process of sending and receiving. And
But it's not true that no one's ever done this before.
Really?
Every species does this to some extent. We're the only ones. We're pretty unique in that we took it and just played it to such an extreme that we have so much to unravel. I mean, we took on so much suffering just to hold a form. But any form has to hold it, that wants to hold it for a while, inverts it a little, and then they let it go.
Yeah.
And we're going, no, we'll never let it go. So what we have to deal with is just, we created a whole world out of inversion. Species don't usually do that.
No, that's what I mean.
It's a tool.
Well,
and we took the tool and made it life, right?
That's what I mean. Like the human hybrid soul species is operating from the greatest expanse of polarity.
Yeah.
That you could that didn't blow up. Let's put it that way. And then you throw on top, and the reason for that is because you had the inversion, you had the dualistic application to the polarity, because the whole universe runs on polarity, but it's organic.
We have to take it all back. We have to. It has to go back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think like the universe is with us. Like,
man, we're brave. I mean, we came down into. Yeah, I think too.
There was absolutely no possibility of Armageddon. It was done. The decision was made, and it was not going to happen. We can dream it if we like. It's not going to happen. And he was just absolutely certain. And
now,
so
this is from your dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no if, but.
When's the last time he gave you this information, this type of information? I'm just curious. Because are you talking about recently or before?
That's it.
Like
Yes,
obviously you talked to
always.
him. Obviously you talked to him after Soulogy Fest because he told you all that information about Soulogy Fest, military, CIA, and all that stuff, right? So
Yeah.
has he talked in term? Have you talked to him in terms? Let's just say in the last since Soulogy Fest, have you talked to him in terms of how it's going now? Anything that's been happening?
Yeah, ever since I started remembering, having like clear memories of being with him on ships and stuff. Yeah, yeah. It's just it's a stream.
Like,
I mean,
can,
the idea of him being respected in many worlds. I mean, is he an individual? He's a collective.
yeah,
He's a stream of energy.
he's in your in your human memory banks. He's a single human being with a soul. But what
Yeah.
you're saying is, in reality, probably like most of us, like many of us, if not all of us, we're actually energy complexes. Okay,
My idea was
so
that
huh?
he was part of the. There was a Syrian experiment to help humanity hold its stupidity, because the First World War was the war to end all wars, but we wouldn't have it. So, like humanity, we're just too stubborn. We wouldn't let go. So the Syrians had this experiment that ended in 72 or three to
Hmm.
help humanity just hold its consciousness, let it be ignorant for a little bit longer, so it could develop the strength to parry light, so they get a better vessel, right? And they left it in 72, or that experiment was over in 72. My dad died in 74.
Well,
So yeah, when that experiment was over, he was done. I mean, that's all he would, because he considered himself dead in the war anyways, but he didn't die. So he was just here to finish that experiment. So it was definitely, there's like the stream of,
so the when did he tell you there? And I believe this. I mean, I'm not because it doesn't even matter to me anyway. But the Armageddon thing, like the whole Doomsday thing. When did he tell you that? First tell you that wouldn't occur, that the decision hadn't been made, had been made.
always. I mean, it was just, this is how, yeah, always. The
Yeah.
earth, all humanity change its glory. There's no end to creation. Armageddon would be the end of creation.
Yeah,
Creation
of
does not
course.
end unless you transcend and become the Buddha seed. The transformation does never ends. It
So
doesn't
then,
happen.
so then we have to question everything again. Uh, Look how strong an adherence to Christianity, Islam, other religions, all these things, right? Like, if you look at the history that's been laid out for us, it's nothing. 6,000 years, maybe 12,000 years.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm talking about in the mainstream that's, pushed, that's perpetuated or propagated.
yeah,
Yeah. The galactic memories, and we're so much more than galactic. So
yeah,
much more. And like your father, this is what I was going to say earlier, it's like an energy complex. We carry
yeah.
this. We're not just one individual in our, it's bigger than that. We carry a lot. Like, for instance, how many people do you know? How many people have you met in the last 10 years who were Jesus's child, Jesus himself, Mary, and I'll go right down the list. I don't disbelieve them. I respect their reality, but you can't have 144,000 that were all the same person. You know what I mean? You could, I guess, in a multidimensional kind of way, but in one timeline type of proposition, it doesn't mean that any of them are lying. They might be
Right.
over identifying with what they remember, but that doesn't take away from the fact that they could be the pinky toe of that person during that lifetime, right?
Yeah. I like
Yeah,
that. Yeah, that makes me cry. Yeah, we are an energy complex.
we are. We're a part.
Each individual is even. Yeah.
There's an old saying. I don't remember who said it. I think it was one of the Stoics. I am. What does it say? I, I basically I am all that I have encountered. And if you think about that, if the soul has a lineage, which it apparently does. The human has a lineage, the soul has a lineage, and you have the spirit, that's a whole different thing, right? I mean, that's everything. Uh, every time I come across, every time I have an interaction, every time I have an incarnation, I'm merging constantly, moment by moment, with all things, be they the same species that I am, or the surroundings or the environments that I experience in. They all become coding and information for me in throughout my soul lineage, which is
Yeah. I think this is getting to the part I'm going to like. My dad said, wait, and in your lifetime you'll see everything you came here to see. And
can
yeah,
you
this was getting
can you
what I waited.
connect to him now? Do you think he would mind?
No, no, I think so, because I'm like just soaking in this energy the last couple weeks. Wow, it's just, whoa, I like it. Yeah. Okay, I could, I think, I suppose. It's not just him, there's 13 other guys too.
Okay.
14 is, 14 is not a sacred number, but that's what they had. Is there something to say, or do you just want to?
Oh, I mean, I guess the first thing is, can we connect with him? Is that a yes
Yes,
with the
yes,
14?
I think,
Your dad.
yeah, no,
What was your dad's first name?
Sydney.
Sydney. Oh my
Actually, his
God. Do you
Hebrew name was
how many times I typed Sydney this morning, which is weird.
really.
Yeah, because I was
His Hebrew
trying
name
to.
was Shem, which means name.
What's that?
His Hebrew name was Shem, which means name,
Shim.
but his English name was Sydney.
Okay. So, yeah. Okay. So, do you want me to like ask a question or what? Is that
Sure, yeah, okay.
okay? So, first of all, thank you very much, and second of all, uh, I don't. I really don't. Okay, I'll just cut to it. Um, how are things going here? How are we doing here on the earth? What's our status? What's the state of the union?
Say it's already done,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, good. Yeah, like really good. Like the next 10, 12 years are like a moment. We'll feel this moment like it's the experience. That's what we came for. But it's like a minute. It's all done,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it's just it's just light. It's, it's just a light. It becomes light. I don't know. That's
Yeah.
light.
Yeah. I like that. I get that. What you're saying. So there's a school of thought that this entire planet will transcend or ascend. God, I hate when I ask questions and the answer comes while you're asking the question. But basically, that there'll be no more death, even from the human perspective or experience. Is that true?
Yeah, because first of all, they say the Earth is already gone. This is a sun star. We are light out of sun star. But if we can't handle that yet, we're protected and we're projecting this Earth. This is not that. Okay. The Earth ascended in 2012 and it became a sun star. So the things that we think we've done to the Earth, like the plastic in the oceans and all the fish that died and all that stuff, the Earth would never allow such a thing. It's only
Right.
a hologram in our mind proceeding from
Right.
our Armageddon tendencies of thought. It's we're dreaming, and anything that any world, any life we have, even with the body, it's dreamed, and we're going to know we're dreaming, and we will be more involved in dreaming than whatever it is we dream.
Mm-hmm.
So life is a choice. Form becomes a choice,
Right.
and it'll become less and less important until such time as we don't give a shit anymore. Now, but humanity is possibly unique because it loves form more than anything. But it
Dang
isn't
it!
form.
This is
And
great. I just realized I got a show in 10 minutes. I
Okay.
think I do. Let me double check. I'm pretty sure I do. Let's see. Yes, I do. Yeah. Wow. We have to do this again. We need to get on the horn with you and the crew of 14, led by Sydney. Yeah, that's great answers. Well, these are the real deal, though. Like, we could get into a more extended conversation too, having to do with physicality. You know, I think that's what he was saying right then, was like the physical itself. It's not that it's going to go away. It's like what you said at the beginin. If you want to ride the bus, you'll be able to ride the bus and take it with you. If you want to,
I did this with Morgan a couple of weeks ago, where I had this split. I think this is a body, but because I see it, it's because it's an image. But my innate body has no image. So and I am and I get very confused, and I say and I mean a body, but that isn't even my body.
true.
So like, yeah, that was an interesting one right there.
Hey, we're going to be back in 13 minutes with Linda Jarrett,
All right.
Golden Temples of Light. Oh, there she is now. It's too early.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful.
Yeah, we'll do it again. I'll hit you
Can
up.
I just invite any women that want to join? I do a group every weekend. Either I do it with Monique or I do it on my own. Anybody who wants to come, please come.
Okay. Contact Susan Bornstein.
Stein.
Bornstein. Is it?
Like the bear.
Well, I don't know. I'm from Texas. It's Bornstein down here. Okay.
Yeah.
Love you. I'll talk to you
Thank you
later.
so much.
Be
Love
back
you.
in